Hi, welcome to the show. Welcome to Talking Reckless 314. My name is Matt Eads. I'm joined by Brandon Lynch.
Hello, Matt Eads.
Hello.
I'm joined by you.
And both of us are joined by Warren Barris.
Hey.
That's his famous catchphrase. You know that thing you always say, Warren. Hit us with it again, won't you?
Hey.
Just myself and apartment 316 here on this. It's Friday afternoon here in real life time.
It's Good Brother Friday.
Yeah, it is Good Brother Friday. Man, these holidays just have a way of sneaking up on you when you're living your best quarantine life.
It's true.
I don't know if I said the day, but it's April the 13th, 2020 in podcast time. We'll get into how your Good Fridays. Well, I guess our Good Fridays are like barely even started. How was your bad
15 minutes?
How was your bad Thursday, gentlemen? You get up to any doings? Okay, there we go. I was gonna say our internet is a little spotty, so we might have some connection issues.
We had a couple drinks, played a couple games with Andy, played some Overwatch for a bit.
I see he's online.
Really drunk.
I wonder what he's doing. Not being on the podcast. That's for effing sure.
He's got one of those smart TVs that turns his Xbox on anytime it turns on his TV.
It's
Sometimes
secretly
he just appears for no reason.
Secretly outed him though. He's hiding. He's hiding out. Couple drinks, couple games. Any what's the scene in Overwatch here? We're on the cusp of a new hero, right? That's supposed to be like this week?
Yeah.
When
what did say yesterday? Next
14th?
New hero Tit?
Week? That's right. The
Little
new hero Echo Tit.
Little call to the, I guess, pre-show. Did you convince this person that the character, the new hero, whose name is just Echo, I think, right? Did you convince this person that this character, the new hero, is just called Tit, or like Echo Tit? Set the scene for me. Basically,
they know nothing about Echo. They didn't even know that a new character was coming. Andy said something last night when we were playing about, he's coming on the 14th or whatever. And then they went, there's a new hero coming? And then I immediately, because I'm drunk and I do this shit all the time, was like, yeah, and get this, their name's Tit. And then we all just kind of went from there. He's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, I'm not making this up. I couldn't make it up. It's totally true. But now they think that the new Overwatch hero is named Tit.
He's got to find a good acronym, and like, what could TIT stand for? And that'll totally seal the deal, you know? Transforming.
Titanium Integration Technology.
Done. Boom. Finished.
There it is.
Tit.
Tit can also be short for titanium.
That's exactly. It's good.
Need you to handle the show, boys. Coffee's gone down the wrong pipe.
Well,
cover for me.
We lost him. He's dead.
That was
man
good.
Passed away.
Good show today, and let's fucking.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Too sweet to black.
We're recovering over here.
We're also,
I don't know.
I believe later on today, perhaps, gonna dive back into a little bit of Sea of Thieves.
Is that right? Do you guys need maybe I should update. Do you guys need a I don't know, a bosun? I don't know what my Sea of Thieves role would be.
By all means, the more the merrier.
I've got I've got
Unless
Game
we
Pass.
have more than 4, right? And then you're not welcome.
Is it only for? Did they never add a ship bigger than 4 people?
Sure. I haven't been in there
I
since the
haven't played
first
it in
week.
so long.
Yeah, neither have I. I'll definitely get that updated.
Yes, you haven't. We played that Megalodon thing.
Oh right, the Megalodon.
Oh, was that with me like a few years ago?
You were with us too.
Yeah, long time ago. I've dipped in for a bit of like you guys. I've seen the Megalodon. I've seen the Kraken. I did some of the whatever those like new missions they added were called. Where
I don't think we've even done
they were
any of those.
pretty basic, but I played a little bit. I like getting in that game for, a few hours every 6 months and going, man, this water looks fucking rad.
Yeah, you fuck around, you do some stupid shit, you fall overboard, you get drunk on the boat and vomit in a bucket and throw it on somebody.
We can play our instruments. I unironically love playing all the instruments together.
Me too.
Yeah, shit, I'll totally. Remind me once the show is done. I'll get that updated, and that'll be fun.
Do it.
Do we want to talk anything about WrestleMania here on this podcast?
Oh, I forgot that WrestleMania happened.
Speaks to the times, I suppose.
It was such good shit.
Was it really?
Good shit.
Unironically, are you working or are we shooting here? What are we saying?
Okay, there was some
It's tough to
unironic
explain.
good shit. There was also a lot of ironic good shit.
It was a very weird weekend. Obviously, like any live event, sport, whatever, relies so much on the fans, but wrestling is like even tenfold regular events because it's wrestling. So
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know. It's shitty without people there, and it's dumb that they went ahead and did it, as far as I'm concerned. But they made do with what they did. There was some very good like wrestling matches on there too. Daniel Bryan had a really good match. Even the Edge thing was good for what they were able to do with it. Him and Orton had the last man standing match that went like 39 minutes or something ridiculous.
Dear
It's the
Lord.
second longest match in WrestleMania history, next to a 1 hour Iron Man match.
And it was 2 days this year, which is like just to make it even weirder.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like
Honestly, that I didn't mind as much because it was only 3 hours or 4 hours both days. So it wasn't like the usual 8-hour fucking shift that you have to put in on the Sunday.
yeah.
I just don't think people would have
out.
had the energy for an 8-hour show without kind of the energy of the crowd and the pageantry
Totally.
of fucking tanks coming down the fucking
You
thing.
get burnt out when there's 100,000 fans and you're watching it. Never mind if there's nobody there. So
It's wrestling with no crowd energy is such a weird thing. I watched a little bit of Mania myself, and like, I just couldn't. It's so hard to suspend the disbelief where like, that thing where the energy of the crowd like brings somebody is losing in a match, and then the energy of the crowd brings usually in a tag match their partner stomping and leads to a hot tag. That's really hard to watch with no crowd.
Me and Warren were even talking about, because Warren said something similar about how, like, oh, here comes the hot tag. And I was like, I wonder if they thought about that. I mean, clearly they didn't because they were doing it, but thought about, like, maybe restructuring their matches in such a way that you weren't leaning so much on crowd reaction and momentum swings and stuff like that. Like, just try and do the most athletic match you can.
Totally. Or like mishearing the count. It's just a lot of the little things that you kind of, when the crowd is going crazy, you're totally willing to just like, it's comic books. It's a comic book movie. Yeah. Who cares?
100%.
But when it's like totally silent and you can just hear them in the ring, like, just like the grunts of the moves, it's very, very, very different. It's weird.
It certainly shows you how much the crowd adds to a show.
Totally. And even like wrestling aside, like, all the shows that like the John Oliver, what's his HBO thing called? Last Week Tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
Shows that like usually have studio audiences that are still going without the studio audience. They're weird. They're so weird. Like the jokes don't hit. I miss the before time.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Just before the sky fell.
it's strange. Even like in my job, the interaction has gone down drastically because nobody listens to the radio anymore. So like, I don't know. It's a weird time. Weird time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I was thinking about this with the John Oliver show or Last Week Tonight, sorry. That you could totally just put a laugh track in there and like that would suit me just fine.
Oh yeah.
You think wrestling could have used some kind of a like not laugh track, but like
crowd?
Yeah, or just anything. Like I thought, what if you had other wrestlers in the stands and like even just having them, they could cheer for their allies and boo their enemies.
I think wrestling is. I mean, I don't hate the second option as much, but I think wrestling is already so like scripted and predetermined and everything that I think adding crowd noise would just be a step too far.
Yeah.
I think in the John Oliver sense or something, I think it makes more sense.
I think it's
But
because
for-
in the talk show sense that you never see the crowd, or you rarely see the crowd. It's behind the camera. Whereas at a wrestling show, you're so used to always seeing them that you'd be hearing this like disembodied noise that just wouldn't make sense almost.
I thought it would have been a great gimmick for one of the heels to bring their own crowd sound. I was waiting for like
That'd be
Elias
good.
brought his own crowd cheering with like just boom boxes out in the stands or something, but
I will say regarding WrestleMania, my two favorite parts of that show were both pre-record. Well, everything was pre-recorded, but like chopped up and edited things that had nothing to do with the wrestling ring. The
Yeah.
John Cena thing and
Pre-produced
the
matches.
Boneyard fight were far and away my two favorite things they did.
they're making movies.
They're making movies.
Mhm.
I make movies.
So all in all, what do you think of this year's WrestleMania? Give me a back of the box review.
I mean, it's gonna be a very
memorable.
cool thing, yeah, to look back on and be like, "Fuck, remember when there was no crowd because of the fucking shit that we were going through?" But I don't know if it's tough to like. How do you compare it to other manias too, right? Because of that, like, it's just so different that like it's kind of in its own thing.
What was the Pirates of the Caribbean thing? Like I watched the first two matches of Mania and like they were
it was
doing a
supposed to be
Pirates.
in Tampa
Well,
Bay.
It was like literal.
Yeah,
oh,
the
for
whole
the
thing was pirate themed for the venue as they usually are, but then
Yeah.
when you took the venue out of it, because Tampa Bay's football team's the Buccaneers, and
Mhm.
you took that whole thing out of it, all of a sudden it didn't fit.
It was like
And I'm not
literally the
sure.
announcer was like, "I'm doing a Jack Sparrow voice, mate." Like literally said the words Jack Sparrow voice, and like they were like, "Oh look, there's the knockoff Kraken," and like it was really like Disney should maybe call their lawyers.
Yeah,
It was weird.
I don't know if they have rights to use Jack Sparrow.
Super topical. Pirates of the Caribbean.
I don't know how long it takes to kind of reproduce those openers and stuff, but I would have totally leaned into the empty arena thing for your openers and everything in a way that the pirate theme just got completely lost. Like after that opener ended, the theme was gone. You never saw any more. I guess every
They
now and then a
ran the
match graphic
same
would come
thing both night too, and like the first one, like the first night, it's like it started with the pirate thing, and then it did this like record scratch, and he's like, "Okay, hold on a second." I'm like, "Okay, cool. You're gonna be like, obviously this isn't happening," but then he just kept going with the pirate thing, and it didn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
the moment
really
that you
weird.
realized the record scratch had literally nothing to do with the empty arena and would have been there for like regular WrestleMania, you're like, what the fuck are they thinking?
Yeah, it was
Like, you
very.
still had
it-
Steph both nights start the show and be like, "We're in strange times, and thank you for watching our shitty program."
Yeah, we owe it to you
It
to. See, the way she phrased that first night about like any distraction from what's going on in the world, it is weird. Weird times. WrestleMania already a weird thing, and the combination of the two, like really fucking weird. All the way down to that guy saying word for word Jack Sparrow voice.
Yeah. I will say one of the best highlights, though, which I alluded to earlier, was from the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse match, in which the puppet Vince McMahon was watching John Cena, who was currently at the time in the NWO, and they cut to the announce desk, and puppet Vince McMahon goes, "This is such good shit."
Yeah, it was the John Cena
Unedited.
retrospective whole thing was, I honestly think, one of the most brilliant self-aware things WWE has ever done.
They need the dose of
it-
self awareness these days.
Yeah, and it was like John Cena's own self-awareness, and it was poking fun at like everyone's wanting him to be a heel all the time and compare his comparisons to Hulk Hogan, and it was just so great. Called back to Cena's and Wyatt's first WrestleMania match at 30, where everyone thought he was going to turn and he didn't, and they basically just made fun of numerous parts of John Cena's career where everyone wanted it to go one way and it went a different way.
And talk about his marriage.
No,
I don't
think
think
there's
so.
any
Proposal?
Bella- Oh no, there was one. Bray said at one point, "You can look, but you can't touch," which
Oh,
is
yes.
the Bella Twins
Yes.
entrance music.
Well, there is your. We don't have Andy for the Dragon Ball 10, so there's your wrestling 10 for this week here on TR 314.
You'll get your anime one way or another.
That's right. See you next year, wrestling.
Yeah, I'm not turning that back on.
Video games. Actually, before we get into video games, there was this must have been 2 or 3 nights ago. There was like a weird brawl outside my apartment. Like have you ever seen? I'm trying to think. I don't know if they do it in Greece, but like any of like the old kind of musical movies where like 2 gangs meet in a line and the leaders of the gangs are like walking towards each other while they're snapping, and then it turns into a dance off.
Yeah.
It was basically like that, where
Story.
South Side Story. It was basically like that, where I don't even remember what I was doing. I had the window open because it was super hot, and I could hear just people like just loud. It sounded like a crowd. And outside my window, right below I'm on the 4th story, right below, like on the sidewalk, directly below my suite. There was what looked very much like a fight. There was like, I don't know, 20 to 30 people, kind of split clearly into 2 groups. People had baseball bats. There were like cars very hastily just parked on the side of the road, and like 4 people all getting out, and the group was like growing bigger and bigger. And they were kind of just, I did not, they were speaking in a language I did not understand. But they were, it sounded a lot like bickering back and forth. Nobody threw any punches, but you could see people like puffing up their chest and like pushing each other back and forth. And more cars were all showing up. And it went on for like 15 minutes of just what sounded like bickering and posturing. And, you know, they kind of floated up and down the sidewalk a little bit, this huge group. And then someone across the street, it's like 10:30 at night, so it's dark and it's quiet. Someone across the street just yelled, "Quiet down!" And all these people, 20 people, immediately just like scattered like cockroaches, where they just all ran to their cars and just drove away. In like 15 seconds, the street was completely clear and completely silent. And that was it. And they like never heard anything about it. It was the weirdest shit.
That is strange.
Where I was thinking about being that guy who's like, shut up! But I didn't, you know, these people are ready to fight. I didn't want to egg anybody on.
Yeah,
They're right below my place.
I would have just yelled, "Somebody hit somebody!"
Yeah, I had my camera out. I was waiting to record this fight, and then someone across the street just goes, "Quiet!" And everyone's like, drives away.
You should have like rang a wrestling bell or something.
Oh yeah,
Ding, ding.
I was thinking of all sorts of hilarious things I could do, but it felt like I might get beat up or something if I did.
Yeah.
Real weird times.
The only thing that was missing was somebody backing out a motorcycle from the first floor apartment.
Maybe that happened after I went back inside. Went back in on the balcony and someone drove out. Oh, strange times. Those folks, not social distancing. They should have been ashamed.
No. Yeah.
Video games, gentlemen. You play any? You distract yourself any these trying times? Speaking of, I see a game on here that I actually want to jump to. Sorry, Brando, to set you up and then.
That's fine.
Nay. Speaking of wrestling, tell me a little more about WWE 2K20.
I'm very excited that I remembered to talk about this because it is honestly, so like the game itself is the game itself. Whatever. Yeah. They changed some things up. It's
been out for about
look very good.
15 months at this point, over a year at this point.
No, it hasn't. It came out in October.
Oh, okay. Sorry, under a year.
Yeah. You could see who they spent, like usual. You can see who they spent a lot of their time doing, and like the Fiend looks really good. There's other people that look really shitty, but that's I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about specifically the my player career mode, story mode, whatever you want to call it, because I had heard that it's really bad and that it wasn't very good. And I was like, well, how bad could it really be? It's pretty simple. You start out a rookie wrestler and you work your way up like they always do. But no, it is the most, and I don't mean specific to wrestling games. I mean, any video game ever. It's the most fucked thing I've ever played in my life.
Any video game ever. Holy.
So you start out, I haven't finished it yet. I haven't touched it because I'm still trying to process what I viewed last weekend. But You start out at current day, you're in a hotel room getting ready to go to your, what I assume is your Hall of Fame induction, like you're getting in the Hall of Fame.
You made it, presumably. They start with the end of the story, you're a legend.
Yes. You're like all in your tuxedo, and you control a male and a female in this year's, so you're both in there and you're kind of hanging out, and you're really good friends. I don't think you're like together or married or dating or anything. I just think you're really good friends, and they establish that you've been very good friends since high school. And then they do this like weird flashback thing where it flashes back to high school, but because you created the character, your character looks exactly the same at your Hall of Fame speech at the end of your career as you did in high school. So my dude is in high school with this big giant red bushy beard and like dyed hair is like blue and shit, and like then you fight the captain of the wrestling team because they're bullying you in a Raw ring.
Like not in like an Olympic
no,
wrestling match, but like a professional wrestling match.
Yeah, in the Raw is War arena, because that's I guess when you were in high school as these characters.
That's how we solved our problems in high school.
Right.
Settle this between the ropes.
Cuts back to real time, and the male character's like, well, that's not how I remember it. Here's how I remember it. And then you go back in time again to then see the real thing, which wasn't in a wrestling ring. They just kind of brawled in the lunchroom, and then one dude fell on a tray and hit his head or something. And then you go, okay, so then that part's done. And then like you're just continuing to like go back and visit all these memories leading up to the point where you are now, I guess is the idea.
The Assassin's Creed of wrestling.
Oh, and like, so you get to the event, and now there's Natalia's there, and then you go and talk to Natalia. It's like, hey, remember that time that I said I was the best wrestler to come out of Calgary? That was stupid. And then you just replay that match that you had because she got mad at you for saying you were the best person to come out of Calgary.
It sounds bad. Top to bottom. 2K20 sounds bad.
It is a fascinating thing that they've created.
This was the one that Ukes passed off to, I can never remember their names, Creative Visions, I think, the NBA 2K team. And in the space, because like that handoff happened, it was after October. They had a very limited amount of months, it seems, with this game to get it up the door. It looks, visually, it looks fucking terrible. The hair on everybody is like, oh, the faces, man. WWE 2K20.
It's a shame because that was often one of the things they did okay.
Yeah, especially like the big money stars. Like Warren said, you could usually tell where they spent the money. You're like, damn, this one or two, like the box athletes look really good. I can't think of anything that I saw from 2K20 that I would describe as, quote, looking really good.
Yeah, like I say, I think the only one that actually I thought looked pretty good was The Fiend, but that's also a DLC thing, so.
Yeah,
it's definitely don't spend money on that game, that's for sure.
It's free with, what is it, Games with Gold this month?
Yeah, I don't know if it is still, like it might have just been the weekend thing, like the Mania weekend thing.
I'll double check here as we move on, as we get out of Wrestletown for a while. What else you been up to this week?
Never look in the rearview mirror.
There was that Apex update that we had kind of talked about on last week's podcast.
Duos
that rolled out,
and Kings Canyon back in the rotation.
Also, Kings Canyon Dark in rotation.
Ooh, is that just Kings Canyon at night?
Yeah, that's the one they used for the Halloween event a while back.
Is there like any, do you have like flashlights or anything? Is there any like, does that darkness play into the match at all? Or it's just kind of
It's harder to see, but there's no way to fight it.
Yeah. Is it like, the night maps in Modern Warfare, how they're like, they're very different in a way, and you got to use that night vision and all that?
Mm-hmm. This is not like that at all.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's just,
and
a
I
little bit more
they
tougher
know
to see guys coming.
So the way the rotation works, it's a timed rotation, so everyone's playing on the same map. Well, I guess I should say everyone in our region would be playing on the same map, but me and Warren both can see a countdown for how long Kings Canyon's going to be in rotation. It's going to be in rotation for maybe an hour and 15 minutes when we sign on, and then it flips to Kings Canyon After Dark, but it only does like 30 minutes of Kings Canyon After Dark, and then it goes to World's Edge for a long time. So I think they know that they don't want Kings Canyon After Dark to make up a third of the time, even though it's a third of the maps. So
yeah, well, it's still Kings Canyon at the end of the day.
Yes.
So the rotation is like in a day you'll play theoretically multiple different maps. It's not like every 2 weeks or whatever.
Right.
Oh yeah, no,
exactly.
No. Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Which is good and bad, I guess, because if you are like both Brando and I, who kind of pretty much play that game just to do the challenges, they did not include any sort of like the land or get knocks or do damage in specific areas does not include get it on here on this map or here on this map. It's like only on World's Edge, so. You could ideally have like an hour to play, for example, after work. If you only had an hour to play and you log in and it's on Kings Canyon and you know that Kings Canyon After Dark comes after that, then you're like, well, fuck me. I guess I'm not doing this challenge tonight.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Map-specific challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is something that I know we talked about last week, that I was like, I wonder how they're going to do that, and they didn't really change anything. That being said, it's also very late in the season, too, at this point, that... Who knows? Like, I'm at 109, I think now, 8 out of the 110 battle pass thing. So,
yeah,
it's not the end of the world if I don't get my challenges done. But a weird decision, but
yeah,
it's a fun game.
Continues to be a fine game.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with this COD update here? We'll just we'll get Warren all crossed off. Season 3. Season 3?
Yeah.
3 new maps.
No more trios in Warzone. It's all quads now.
Oh, weird.
I think solo is back as well, but they changed the marking system. So it's now mapped to the left bumper or L1 or whatever, which is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life because...
That's like, grenade.
And this man played 2K.
So now you have to I think you press up on the D-pad to change between your grenades, and both grenades are mapped to RB.
I bet you can switch that.
Yeah,
I agree that
I don't know why they fucked with it.
That ping sucked, dude. That ping, it is impossible. When you're clicking in the stick, like more times than not, you ended up moving your reticle. Trying to ping an enemy was impossible in Modern Warfare.
It was up on the D-pad before, I think.
Or whatever it was. Whatever it was, it was like finger had to come off of stick, and it was very, very hard to ping an enemy.
But now it's impossible for me because
making it the grenade button.
Looking down
is
my
fucked.
sights, I'm holding left trigger with my index finger. Then I have to reach over with my right hand to hit left bumper to mark something.
Oh, you got to learn to use 2 fingers on the triggers. You got to learn to be a middle finger on the trigger.
I'll never do it.
No,
middle finger trigger.
Not how you play video games?
Pointer finger bumper. What do you mean? That's way faster. What are the?
Not faster.
Yeah, it totally is. What are those middle fingers doing anyways? They're just hanging out. They're just on the bottom of the controller doing nothing.
That's my grip.
Ah, you can adjust. How much
I'm not holding the controller anymore.
You hold it daintily.
I actively dislike video games that expect you to hit both bumper and trigger on one side at once.
Yeah, or claw grip.
That's
just embrace the claw grip.
Stupid. They also changed the map a little bit where you zoom in and out with A and B instead of the bumpers, because now you're marking with the bumper, I guess, is the idea. And
I had issues with all those things that you're saying they changed, but it doesn't sound like they changed them to be that much better.
Yes. Yeah, if you would have come in and said, hey, they changed the ping system, I would have been like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, great.
Sucked.
Just make it what it is in Apex. Whatever they do in Apex, use that. It works great.
Yeah, the Apex ping system. It's just, snappier. Feels snappier. Feels like it is easier to hit the thing you want to hit, and it contextualizes it really well in Apex. I don't feel like that's the case in Modern Warfare.
I agree. They're figuring it out.
That said, I don't know. This isn't really a spoiler, I guess, because it's in the. If you boot up Modern Warfare, it's going to show you that Alex is alive.
Ah! Who's Alex?
Oh,
Is that from the campaign? What happened? Did we lose the?
Yes. Sorry.
What's going on here, gentlemen? Gentlemen, did we lose the call?
Nope,
Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay,
I thought
sorry.
Warren was going.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
see.
Alex from the campaign.
That's who we think becomes Roach. Is that right?
Was it Roach?
Is it Roach's?
No,
You
I
can't
don't
kill a
think we
Roach.
thought he became anyone.
Is he CIA or Gaz or
CIA,
something?
I think.
Isn't that? I thought that was
we were Gaz. The other guy was Gaz. The other playable character in the first one was Gaz.
I thought we sort of connected the dots that whoever went into that nuclear reactor kind of becomes Roach into or whatever.
Maybe it could. I mean, that's sound logic. I don't think I was there when
Well,
we
let
had that
me-
discussion because
well,
I
I
don't
guess this
remember
doesn't-
it. But
This doesn't really matter because it's a reimagining of it. But
Yeah, totally.
Alex has one leg now.
Oh shit. Okay. That's kind of weird.
yeah,
He like shows up and he's got a prosthetic on his left leg.
Huh. I don't know, I wonder if Roach had any prosthetics. It is totally a reimagining where who knows?
Yes.
Like the Final Fantasy VIIs of the world, things might be different.
And I still have to wait 20 more days before I can play that Modern Warfare 2 remaster. So
Oh, and only like 90 more days until Control DLC.
yay! We might be out of
fuck,
here
that's
by
a
then.
long time.
Yeah, June. Brandon, you want to talk about a little Resident Evil 3
Let's do it.
remake? All right, I finished the game, so you should probably tell your thoughts before I
Okay,
ruin it.
so yes, I might just maybe just go take a break while you ruin it. The first thing so it seems like it's short.
Yeah, super short. I finished the game under 5 hours.
Seems like there's no real way to justify the value as a single player experience. Like I don't think any game for 5 hours is $80.
No.
$80.
And
No matter how good.
to sort of further compound that, a lot of it, most of it is reused stuff that you saw into.
Which is weird because I feel like I haven't seen any of that stuff where I am, and I got to be close to halfway through.
It'll be like super obvious, and you'll be like, oh, hey, look, we're back here, and then like, oh,
Like a whole area.
we're back here, multiple areas.
Like reused from earlier in the game.
No, straight out of Resident Evil 2. Like they just lifted.
Oh, okay.
You'll see familiar places. You're like, oh shit, I remember this from 2.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So I guess that's disappointing. I mean, that's not something I would call disappointing if it was done the right way, but if it's done the right way. So.
Yeah,
I
without
think it's
directly
not
just
done the right
saying
way.
what it is. Yeah, unfortunately I can't just tell you what it is, but everybody who's played 2 will get to these parts and be like, oh, this is I see how they got this game out in a year.
Right, and that's kind of what I wanted to circle around to with this whole thing is maybe my expectations were well managed because they put this out in a year. Maybe because Resident Evil 3 was all in all much less well received than 2 even on the original go around. But I am having quite a bit of fun. It kind of feels like DLC. It kind of feels like it should have been like a $40 bolt on to Resident Evil 2 maybe.
Yeah, I would have felt a lot better about a $40 bolt-on than a full $80 game.
But I have, at the point I'm at, I've been having a blast. I've got a lot of, but not all of that feeling that I really enjoyed from Resident Evil 2, using the fucking grenade launchers on the frog things and trying to pick the heads and everything on the swaying zombies. Like all that stuff I really liked about 2 is back.
Yeah.
So I like all that.
It does start a lot like 2, where it is like 2 was a horror game for the first 80%, and then you kind of get the weapons and turn into this like crazy powerhouse. And like that power creep was fun, where you're like, man, I remember the first time we saw one zombie in a hallway. It was like, how am I only have one bullet. How am I going to do this? 3, very early in the game. Well, I guess like halfway through the game. It kind of turns into this like you get an assault rifle and infinite ammo. very early into it, and it turns into this like action shooter where instead of being a horror, like restrictive bullets and finding a way through these areas is the hard part. The hard part becomes like there are multiple sequences where you're like hold out in this, kill zombies in this area for X amount of minutes while a door unlocks or whatever. And it is much more this like it is much more a shooter action game than a like tense horror game where it feels like there almost is no tension. Like you truly, once you get that assault rifle, you literally have infinite ammo. The ammo never stops respawning, and it spawns in groups of like 120. And they just make no bones about it. It's not like they're trying to present it as something else. But the shooting sucks. Like, it's supposed to suck. It's supposed to be hard to shoot these swaying zombies. And it's supposed to feel really clunky and have this weird weight to it. And it's super fun as a horror game, because having it be hard to shoot is part of the tension. But as this action game, it just fucking sucks, where, like, you are just in this string of boss fights and combat encounters, and you have to use this shitty shooting. Yeah, I don't. Having finished 3, I do not feel good about paying $80 for 3. It is under 5 hours of Resident Evil. It's kind of tonally, it gets very different than Resident Evil 2. And maybe these are all problems just with Resident Evil 3, but to that, if Resident Evil 3 is a 3-hour game or whatever, like, don't charge a full $80 for it.
And it does come with multiplayer, which seems kind of neat.
Yeah.
So maybe they're putting a lot of the value in that multiplayer. It seems pretty well fleshed out.
When it works, yeah. It on PC it is.
I've had zero problems on Xbox.
PC it has across the board been broken. When did this game come out? It came out earlier in the week, I think. Like it's been out for a while. It's not like we're playing on release day or anything.
Right.
But yes, across the board, PC has not worked. We did find a game this morning. Although it's like even when it does work, it is peer-to-peer hosted, so the connection quality is always fucking terrible. And it is like thematically the multiplayer is really neat. On PC it's broken out.
Really cool intro video, which I'm not sure if you watch. I think it might make you watch it at the beginning, where it kind of like spells out this guy, this evil man in a very Jigsaw-esque monitor room. Kind of setting traps for people and unleashing zombies on people in a way that as soon as I saw that, I was like, this seems like something that me and my friends could get super into if it wasn't an $80 entry point for everyone.
Yeah, it's this 4-on-1 asymmetric, 4 survivors, 1 mastermind. The mastermind is like doing things like spawning zombies, like plays kind of this top down from the perspective of the cameras. Is spawning zombies, can like take direct control, can set traps and lock doors and turn lights off and things. And then the survivors have kind of like classes almost where they have like different abilities where like, oh, this one is the healer support and this one is a hacker tank or whatever. And when it worked, like I did get in the one game today, and when it works, it's kind of neat. Like it's thematically, it's really interesting. This like you're playing, it feels like the single player action of Resident Evil, where you are like fighting the same enemies and they behave very similarly to the single player, but they are controlled in some cases by a real player, and like when it works, it's very cool. On PC, it is. I don't know how it goes on. Do you launch multiplayer from the main menu on Xbox, or is it a totally separate thing?
It's a separate thing like Warzone.
Yeah, so on PC it's a totally separate thing as well, but they don't tell you that it's there. Like nobody's playing it on PC. It's had a max of 2,000 players, and this is like opening week. You have to go into your Steam library and download this thing called Resident Evil Resistance, which unless you know to look for, you probably don't know to look for.
Well, it auto-downloaded when I bought the game for me. I'm not sure if that happens for
does not happen on PC.
Right.
So it's already hard to find, which is weird. Like I don't know. It's gonna be its own free-to-play thing, I'm sure, because that thing is just rife with microtransactions. There are there's
card packs and
100%. All those card packs affect the gameplay in a way where, like, if you want to get in there and spend money, you can just get more inventory slots for your character. You can buy better weapons and better, just flat out better abilities. It is kind of what we think of as the definition of pay to win. Which again, for an $80 multiplayer like add-on to this ultra short game, fucking sucks ass. And it's totally impossible to find a match. I mean, when it does work on PC, even when the matchmaking's working, totally impossible to find a match as a mastermind. Apparently, you're waiting in queues for like upwards of 45, 50 minutes sometimes, which for a 5-minute game, who's going to sit in a queue for a fucking hour? Like, it's weird. It's crazy. Resident Evil 3 on the whole seems like maybe wait for sale.
Yeah, basically if you can get it for like $40.
Yeah, I would feel okay about paying $40 for this. It looks real nice, I'll say. I think that engine looks incredible. The people look real good.
I've been like scared shitless a couple times. Oh, it's always the little things like a zombie. Like I just let my guard down mentally for a second, and then a zombie pops out of a police car, and like I physically jump.
Yeah, there's a couple good ones in the beginning, but it pretty soon you have infinite ammo, and it's not a big deal. Which is too bad. Bit of a bummer. I got don't pre-order games. Goes to reinforce the lesson. Don't pre-order games. I got suckered in because it was $15 off, and I saw that like because Resident Evil Resistance was supposed to be its own thing once upon a time, and then right before launch, you're like, oh no, it's included with Resident Evil 3 remake. I'm like, oh, okay, well I'll see what these both are. Save a little bit of money, and I'm interested in this multiplayer mode, and they got me fooled again. Don't pre-order games.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah. You got any other thoughts here on Resident Evil 3, Brenda?
No, not really. Like I said, I think I'm a little bit warmer on it than you are, and the campaign as a whole. But it seems to take a turn, and I'm gonna assume it takes the turn literally exactly where I am, because I just had a bit of a playable character switch, and playable character who I've switched to seems like the kind of guy who might have an assault rifle.
Oh yes. Oh, I know. Yes, you are. I know exactly where you are. You are about to start. You're like, oh hey, there are some there. I will say there are some very neat moments of like, I don't know if you realize, but that scene opens in that initial graveyard from 2, which is kind of a neat little. You're like, oh shit, this is where the graveyard that 2 starts in is. That's a neat little thing. There's a lot of
2.
Yeah, kind of. There's like an underpass, and
yeah, like right outside the house.
Yeah. And there's a few because like the stories happen concurrently.
I think you don't go there with the playthrough I did of that game.
Did you only do Claire?
Leon.
Oh, you did. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think you don't. I played a little bit of Claire at the beginning because I remember that underpass, but I don't remember a graveyard.
Yeah, I did the Claire playthrough. That makes sense. But there's a few like even some of those. I don't know if they're side quests, but like some of the characters from 2, you just see in the periphery. We're like, oh, like that's what happened to that guy.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of neat. I'm into
that part I'm actually super into. But yeah. I also played. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's kind of all I've been playing. I haven't gone back to Doom. I might when I'm done this, or I might jump over to Final Fantasy.
How's your Animal Crossing treating you?
This is falling off of it. I haven't played in like 3 days. My Nook Mile streak is over.
Oh no!
The world is crumbling around me. That island is probably flooded in a swamp.
How's Warren? How's your crossing?
B Island still going strong, baby.
Still getting too many eggs?
Yeah, a lot of eggs still.
That's how they patch that to make it less eggs. But I mean, it should be.
Did they actually?
Yeah.
Sounds like it's still too many eggs, though.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even notice that they had done less. So
not
a good sign.
By the time this podcast comes out, I think Egg Day will be over.
Yeah, well, I think it's done on Sunday. Well, Sunday will be the last day.
Yeah.
As Jesus rises.
That's right. The eggs go back to sleep, just like it says in Genesis.
Mm-hmm. Phil Collins.
I played a bit of this. So there's this Dark. Have you guys heard this game called Dark Souls? I started playing Dark Souls. I like it a lot. So there's this mod for Dark Souls called Daughters of Ash, which like remixes the entire game, adds new bosses, changes the game like top to bottom, basically. New items, new mechanics, new enemies, new bosses, all that. And I'm working through that this week, which seems pretty cool. Seems kind of. I mean, it's a mod, but it seems like it has a few rough edges on it that we've kind of run into. But it seems like a new way to play Dark Souls, which is neat because I very much enjoy Dark Souls. It's hard to go back to that old game. The Dark Souls is slow in a way that I have trouble adjusting to now. Everything is like, compared to the Bloodborns and the Sekiros and even the Jedi Fallen Orders of the world, Bloodborne is like, it's like you're moving through molasses. It's like you're playing the game slow motion.
I tuned in just in time to watch you die because you weren't able to sprint.
Oh yeah, that was fucked. My sprint stopped working halfway through a boss. It just stopped working. It just stopped working halfway through a boss fight, and then died, and it started working again. I was like, oh, that's God damn
Fucking
it.
mods.
I did eventually beat that boss though,
Good man.
which is cool. Yeah, the boss I was struggling on is just a regular enemy in Dark Souls normally, but they like turned it into this boss with mechanics and phases, and it's really neat. It's ambitious. Daughters of Ash. If you like Dark Souls and have played it a trillion times, check out Daughters of Ash.
Like to go slow.
That's right. If you like to move slow.
Never been a better time to move slow.
Here. And that's all I played. I looked at a little bit of Riot's new free-to-play Overwatch game. We'll talk about that in news. It's called Valorant, and it seems kind of dope. Just going through the notes here. Any other games anybody wants to bring up here before we do our little break ski?
No, sir.
We watched Jumanji 2, which is about a game.
Is that that's the first one with The Rock and Jack Black and
the second one with The Rock.
Oh, I see. How I sort of like the first one. How's the second one?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
It was different. Obviously, there was some different people that were involved, and
oh yeah, is it different stars? Is it still
nope.
The Rock and Jack Black and all them?
Yeah, there's a couple additions, as you would expect, but it was good. It was very good. Kevin Hart was probably the highlight of that.
Yeah.
He was
Kevin Hart
acting
was
like
playing...
the person controlling him and was doing a very funny job of it.
Yeah, it was basically Kevin Hart doing Danny Glover. Being an old man.
I'm with you. Yeah, I was like trying to remember how that movie went, and it's because people play the video game, get sucked into the video game, and then their in-game character is like, I'm The Rock, but in real life I'm like a schoolgirl or whatever. A nerdy kid. Okay, right.
So the first movie was The Rock was kind of the lead nerdy kid, and then the
Jack Black was like a prissy girl or something, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Kevin Hart was a like super athletic, big black guy, and those Kevin Hart and the Jack Black characters the Rock characters were the ones that got swapped out for the majority of the movie. The Rock is now embodying Danny DeVito doing a terrible New York accent. And
okay.
And yeah, Kevin Hart is Danny Glover.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick break here.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It was okay.
Yeah.
Unoffensive.
I laughed a lot a few times.
What more could you ask for?
We wanged, we chunged.
Yeah. Right.
You got down tonight. Well, let's go over a quick break here, and then we'll come back, do the news, and we'll see you on the other side of this musical break. If you're watching the video live, you don't get a musical break. I'll put some music on, but I gotta pee.
Do.
Back in just a second, boys. Hitting the can.
Hell yes.
Lordy Doherty. Who gets the Gordy?
You can't.
Well.
You just can't say that.
Oh, weird. This one's it's doing like a weird face on this one. That's upsetting.
But
I want to see the face.
Might just change. If you go fast enough, you might see it. Ready to talk about some news? Ready for news?
we can talk about some news. We can talk about some news if you want.
News?
All right.
News with you.
Let's talk about some news.
That is a spooky face.
Yeah.
I'm just getting back under my blanket here.
Frog.
That's right. Get cozy. It's news time. Y'all see this DualSense 5?
Yes.
What do you think the DualSense 5 looks like?
I don't know. I kind of don't hate it as much as a lot of people hate it.
I don't hate it at all, but like after seeing like I see Batman's head now, I see Totoro, that big
overalls one is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, shit, there's another one, yeah.
Missed out on all these hot memes. Where are these memes, gentlemen?
Oh, I'll hit you with a Batman face meme.
You might be in the wrong spheres for these memes. We'll get you some memes.
They showed off the controller for the PS5 called the DualSense 5. I don't know. It looks like an Xbox controller shell, but with a PlayStation button configuration.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I noticed is that they seem to kind of shift their overall design closer to the Xbox controller.
Yeah, the form factor is much more rounded, which seems great. I love holding my Xbox controller. It's my favorite one to use.
Yeah.
I wish they would get that joystick. Just put that joystick up. Just have the off-center joysticks. Put that joystick where the D-pad is. This DualSense 5 still has the two joysticks on the bottom, which I hate. That makes my thumb hurt on the PS4.
Yeah, my left thumb wants to be up there.
Yeah.
Up top.
I gotta reach so far, and like that's your go-to stick. That's your moving stick. You're always using the left one.
Right.
They have a bunch of new features. Let's see, haptic feedback, which is a fancy rumble. Adaptive triggers, which is very cool, kind of variable resistance. And they say can create a quote variety of powerful sensations. Haptic feedback can bring gameplay like the slow grittiness of driving a car through mud, or pulling a bowstring with like changing tension as you pull it back farther.
This is stuff that Xbox has been doing, right? With their newer controllers.
I want to say that even the original has rumble in the triggers or something.
It does, but I don't think it has the haptic, like the resistance-based stuff.
Yeah,
I think it can make the triggers rumble, but not contextualize it to. I feel like I remember that article coming out for Xbox during this generation.
I think you're right, but in the same time, I remember playing Forza, and like when you hit water in Forza, the trigger just goes all the way down. The trigger just like has no tension behind it. I feel. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe I'm making this all up in my head.
That's what we do here.
Yeah, I've definitely used. I don't have an Xbox One Elite, but I definitely have used controllers with variable tension on the triggers, which is weird. I don't know what I would be thinking of. But it feels cool. The car use case is like the perfect one. It feels really good where like you hit ice or snow, and just like you're driving a car in real life, and the pedal, shoots all the way to the floor or whatever. The brake shoots all the way to the floor with no tension.
Right.
Feels really good on the triggers. I really like the variable tension. It is still going to have the internal battery. Boo! Which means that by the end of the generation, like now, these controllers will probably, hold the charge for half an hour.
Hell yes.
USB-C port finally.
That's why you gotta have two.
Yeah, man, I have 4 and all my batteries are kaput.
Mine are okay, but I got less use out of my PlayStation 4 this generation, maybe than you did.
Yeah, I was. There was a lot of time there where I didn't even have my Xbox plugged in. It was just the PlayStation. It has a built-in mic, which is weird. It also has an audio jack, and the wording around it sounds like the console is going to ship with a headset as well. I don't know what this built-in mic is for.
It's gonna be like that fucking headset they gave us this generation, where it was like a single earbud.
God damn it!
Like, Like it was a lot like the headphones you get with the new iPhone, except there was only one earbud, but it had the little microphone on the wire thing.
I hope not. That headset. I mean, it's not even a headset. That one earbud and mic fucking sucked ass. That was the worst headset I've ever used ever.
Oh, me too. And it's not even close. I went out and got the new one, the same brand as I have for my Xbox One, with when we were going to do our Monster Hunter thing that never.
It's not too late. It's not too late. When better than now, actually.
And I've barely used it since, but I think it paid for itself when I was playing Tetris Effect. So.
Oh yeah, shit. The built-in mic thing is so weird to me. Where like, we already hear there's just so many open mics in like game lobbies now. Where like I'm playing Call of Duty and here's this jerk off who has a headset plugged in but just sitting there because I can hear everything in his house happening. What if every single person on the console had that now? What if not just the people with the headsets? What if literally everybody playing had an open mic at all fucking times?
This sounds like hell.
I just cannot wrap my head. It has to be. It must be a gameplay thing, right? It must be like the one on the 3DS where like there'll be a game like a WarioWare you blow on the mic or something.
I mean, I like that even less.
I don't know though, because the thing that I read specifically said to make it easier to chat with your friends, make it more convenient to chat with your friends.
I hate it. I hate the built-in mic so much.
Oh yeah, that's very stupid. The only thing that I could maybe think is maybe there's going to be some sort of a like you have to like enable it, or you can turn it on and off somehow without it being constantly open. But you're right, it is going to still have those idiots that are going to have it just hot at all times.
Or maybe it's like
everything they're doing.
Like maybe it's like Kinect functionality, but no one's gonna have a Kinect, so it's just listening through the controller. PlayStation on, and it boop, turns on or whatever. Or like, what the fuck was the Splinter Cell Blacklist? Was that the Splinter Cell game where like through the Kinect you were like, hey, and then your character would be like, psst, and call somebody over or something? Mm-hmm. I don't know. In my head, it must be for something more than just like, people like to chat. Because why would they pay the extra money to put a mic in and send a headset?
That very much said, like Warren said, it's a convenient way to have some chats with your friends, but if you're going to be chatting for a long time, still use a headset.
Yeah, that's the official official PlayStation blog.
The release
said that, which of course they would, but like if you're shipping with a headset, why do you it's just more production cost to have this mic in here? It's a bit of a question mark. And if it is really just a mic for chatting, like, maybe Sony knows something I don't about the way the world and online gaming and communicating works, but maybe a bit of a swing and a miss.
Maybe it'll just sound phenomenal.
It seems like a very Nintendo move where it's like, oh, here's your mic.
What if these controllers were $10 cheaper and didn't have a mic?
Yeah, I'd buy that.
Yeah.
There's no share button anymore. It's been replaced by the create button, which sounds like exactly the same as the share button. But it is now called the create button, and Sony is going to say it'll. That's right. Yeah. Options. No, options is start. Yeah, they've said that it'll have a little bit different functionality, but who knows what it is. I'm trying to look real close at what the start button is called. Can't really make it out. I wonder if it's start or if it is back to options.
Why do buttons need names? I guess so they can tell you what button to push.
Yeah, well, they don't need names. Like fighting games use numbers. You know, you number it like a clock. I think 12 o'clock is 1, and then 2, 3, 4.
Like specifically those, start and select. But they should just be a symbol. Making them a symbol like the rest of them.
Yeah. Well, the Xbox is a symbol. I mean, the symbols were bad on the. They should just start and select is fine. Because on the Xbox, you're like press the button that looks like 3 lines, the hamburger button.
Yeah, the hamburger and the windows.
Press those that one box in the other box.
Like someone just says to me, "Oh, press start." If I say, "How do I do this?" and they're like, "Oh, press start," I hit this hamburger thing. I still don't know what the thing is called.
It looks like I'm just looking this up right now. It looks like it has a touchpad as well. Yeah, it does. It's so the touchpad's still there, which is kind of interesting as well.
They don't use the touchpad for anything.
They do. Sorry, you said they don't. They don't use the touchpad for anything.
No,
I know.
They put it back in. By the end of the generation, that was like a giant button. Was all it was.
I wonder if it's
to bring up a map or something.
I wonder if it's a
Didn't it,
backwards compatibility thing, where like the PS4 games that they have claimed this thing will run used it in some cases, where like
Oh, that's a good point.
because you were like swiping up. I think some first party games had like
Some
Detroit had
swipes.
a
really-
couple,
yeah.
didn't it?
Early in the generation, there was a lot more. Sorry, Whittle. Which?
Detroit had some stuff from that, didn't it?
Yeah, something.
Yes, I think it had an option to like use it for swipes and stuff.
Oh, they were just QuickTime events were often on that thing. I
Yeah.
think where it was like, oh, you swipe left, and whoa, swipe left. Yeah. So that's the new controller. I don't know. It looks hilarious. Just this black and white one. There's one that's all black, which looks totally fine, but this black and white one looks really funny. Like looks like a lot of anime characters. Let's see here. Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer has don't watch the trailer because we now know with certainty that the remake is by accounts different than the main game than the original cut, which is super cool. I don't know what the differences are, but in my head it's like an Abrams Star Trek thing, like a Mr. Spock meets Mr. Spock. Maybe Cloud meets Cloud. I don't know.
That reference.
I don't know. That'd be dope though.
Quickly, do you think? Well, kind of on topic. Do you think I would be well served to watch not a playthrough, but maybe a cutscene thing from the original before I play this? Because at first I was like, well, I shouldn't, because then I can experience this for the first time. But I wonder if some of the changes they're making with the idea that I will have the prior knowledge.
That is also a huge question for me. I have no idea. Having never played Final Fantasy VII, but just knowing a bit about it through, what we do, I have no idea. I think I'm gonna go in cold, and then if that is the case, where like a Mr. Spock situation, where like it is relying on you having some of that knowledge, I'll probably come to it after the fact and be like, oh, that's cool.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, because like you say, how much of it is going to be the same? How much of it am I just going to like watch this recap and be like, oh, I wish I would know. I kind of spoiled this for myself.
Yeah.
But how much of it is going to be way
much,
different? And
like, I could have that moment that was a big deal in the first game. I could have that now because I know nothing's happened, but maybe I miss a bunch of different moments that other people are having because they have played the first game and they changed it.
yeah, I think I'm going to go in cold, and then do the research after the fact, and if there is some of that stuff, I'll be well prepared for whatever comes next. If there is another part, I have no idea. I am media blackout right now on Final Fantasy VII Remake. All I know is that it is reviewing hilariously well. It is like multiple perfect scores, and maybe or how much of it is, it is this super nostalgic game that a lot of people like. It is the formative game for so many people. I don't know. You would hope that a reviewer worth their salt would recognize that and take it into context, but who knows? Echo Tit comes to Overwatch April 14th. That's tomorrow. Tomorrow, Echo comes to Overwatch in podcast time. Good sell. Let's see. My last. Okay. The call dropped. That's the. That's why I'm getting no sold. All right. Live recording, folks. Bear with us. We'll try and get the fellers back on the line here. Yeah, we've been having some issues. If I can rejoin. The way we have to do this, a little inside baseball, if you're listening to this after the fact, because a lot of us don't even have computers. We're so kind of ill prepared for this. There we go. Oh, we were back for a second and then it dropped again, I saw. Because we don't have computers, we literally have to do this through Xbox Live headsets. The first one we did, we just recorded over phone calls. All right, I see Warren has invited me. Yeah, we're trying to get back in. If I can't get back in the party here, I can wrap this podcast by myself. Luckily, I'm a trained professional. And hosting a live podcast while trying to troubleshoot. Really easy, really easy. Do we get Warren back? We might have got Warren back. We'll see. It just has to hang on for another few minutes here. Looks like it's Yeah, it looks like it's not going to boot back up, so I guess I'll just keep going through the news here. I'll keep trying to get him back on the line. We suffer. We suffer here at Talking Reckless for you, the people, in these trying times. These very trying times. One last chance here. One last shot. See if we can get this party going again. Party. I mean, it's always a party here, you know, on the Talking Reckless podcast. If this won't go... Oh! Great. That was the sound of Brando joining and then it immediately disconnecting. We'll see if maybe one of them can invite me. Let's see, where was I? Cyberpunk 2077. From those folks who brought us The Witcher. Warren is saying that Xbox Live is down now. Great. Good. Cyberpunk 2077, the folks at CD Projekt Red say that it will have no less DLC than The Witcher. Apparently him and Brando are in a party, but just not me. No less DLC than The Witcher, which would mean more DLC than The Witcher. And The Witcher had quite a bit of DLC. I'm just... Sorry, this is very distracting, trying to get this done. Trying to get this is like podcast that disconnected halfway through. I'm just gonna finish her. She seems broke. I'm just telling the fellers. Live recording, folks. Live recording. Thanks for bearing with us again in these trying times. Cyberpunk 2077. It'll have more DLC than The Witcher. Witcher had a lot of DLC. Witcher between Hearts of Stone and what was the other one? Blood and Wine. Witcher had, I want to say like, boy, at least 30 hours, maybe more. I feel like 30 is maybe conservative between the two packs. They're meaty. They're huge. Blood and Wine especially is very sizable. And they're very good. They're some of the best stuff, I think, personally, which is dope. They also say that they're still on track for December release, even in spite of kind of all the working from home stuff, the pandemic and whatnot. Which is pretty cool. I'm going to bring you, the live chat, in as my co-host here, seeing as the internet appears to be down and we can't get Warren and Brando back on. But I am keeping an eye on it. Absolutely keeping an eye on it. Let's see here. And the last story I have for you this evening, speaking of Resident Evil, some alleged info on some Resident Evil 8 leaks, what they are tentatively calling Resident Evil 8. And this comes with a huge grain of salt. These are all alleged. This is all from a, fairly reputable, not reputable enough that I'm willing to hang my hat on this, but a lot of it makes sense. It's supposed to be a first-person follow-up to Resident Evil 7, which you played as Ethan... Ooh, what's his last name? Winter? Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt is Mission Impossible, maybe. Ethan Winter, I think? He plays Ethan. 7 was first person, and this is apparently going to be in that same vein. Let's see here. The quote from the leaker is, it is first person, and many purists are going to hate it because it's taking some serious departures in the story / enemies and the like. Hallucinations, occultism, insanity, and not being able to trust others are huge thematics of the game. So it sounds like we might get a little bit away from bread and butter, zombies, bioweapon, so on and so forth. And into some more, like this is occultism and insanity. The words werewolves and witches are thrown around a lot around this game. And apparently it's going to feature Chris Redfield as an integral part of the story. So I don't have, as I say that, I don't have any idea how Resident Evil 7 ties into the others. I sort of didn't even know if it did, to be honest. 2021, that is supposed to be it. Podcast at talkingreckless.com is an email address. As I bring the show in safe here. Safe at last. Another great landing. Where you can write in your emails, or you can drop on our subreddit r/talkingreckless, which is where this one came from. We also have a Discord if you can figure out how to leave voicemails on there. you can do that as well. Walzo wrote in. So last week, I guess to preface this, last week, my Doom Eternal take was done, was baked. It dinged and came out of the oven. And I didn't really like it. If you remember, I started very strong on Doom Eternal. And then as it layered more and more and more and more systems on, it sort of ended as this bloated monstrosity, which I did not really like very much. Here's an alternate take, which I like a lot. Also, this take, I'll just read it. I'll read it first, and then you can, draw your own conclusions. Excuse me. Walzo writes in and says, "Man, I have to disagree with Matt's take on Eternal's gameplay. I think it is so much better than 2016's, though I do agree that 2016 is the better game because of the tone and simple story. I felt like I just only ever used the Super Shotgun and Rocket Launcher when I was playing 2016, but Eternal's combat chain had me constantly switching weapons up and made me really think about how to take on the next horde of enemies. I don't think the Marauder is that much of a problem either, since I never stopped moving with him around. If anything, I was moving even more since he's constantly on your ass." I have a question about that Marauder thing, but I'll finish the email first. "I also think the other new enemies are a real great addition, as it just leads to constantly switching up the gameplay, and the grenades and flamethrower are nice additions. Going back to the levels after the gameplay clicks is a real treat too, because areas that you previously thought were hard become a cakewalk because you've gotten so much better at the game. I will editorialize and say you've also gotten more upgrades and things." He finishes off, "Love the podcast. I've been listening since the 9th grade, and I graduated college last May." Which is really fucked. Just wanted to share my thoughts on Eternal. Walzo wrote that in via the subreddit r/TalkingReckless. Thanks very much for your take. Hey, that's a damn fine take. Remember, this old cynic's opinions are only this old cynic's opinions. He says here, "I don't think the Marauder's that much of a problem either because I never stopped moving with him around. If anything, I was moving even more since he's constantly on your ass. There was a weird, when I was fighting those Marauders, I found that if you were, because there's like a weird butter zone. You have to be exactly 7.2 feet away from that Marauder. And if you're 7.3, he throws the axes. If you're 7.1, he uses the shotgun. And I found I could never, ever, ever, ever find that zone if I was, moving fast and dashing and constantly keeping out of the way and stuff. But I mean, all in all, that is it sounds like Walzo is having the experience that I really wanted to have, but just couldn't really get into it. Where Walzo really enjoys like switching up the weapons constantly and kind of thinking about the horde of enemies and stuff. I like a lot of that as well. It's just by the end where you have 10 different enemy types. Here, a huge issue that I never brought up last week, but really stuck with me. I was thinking about it a lot this week. There's a point at the end of that game. There's like a point of no return where you kind of get you go to load into the mission, and then you get a thing that's like, hey, do all your upgrades, unlock anything you want to unlock, because you're not going to be able to come back. This is the end. We're going to do this for realsies. Get done whatever you want to get done. And then there is, and I'm trying to remember exactly. I know there are at least 2 full levels after that. I want to say there's 3. But there's 2 full levels, and then a boss fight, and then another full level, and then another like 45-minute boss fight at the end after this point of no return. And like everything after that point of no return, I think really fucking sucks in Doom. Like that last boss fight, it is a 45-minute like bullet sponge fight of like you got to shoot this guy a lot, and then he dies. He's just a big off-the-screen enemy. I don't know. I could not enjoy Doom Eternal by the end of it, unfortunately. But thank you very much for your take. I'm glad that there are people out there enjoying it. And also, this is a very, we I feel like butt heads with takes on certain games a lot. And people are sometimes, most of the time, super fucking disrespectful. But this is a very nice, this is a very refreshing, very respectful, different opinion, which I really appreciate. Thank you very much, Walzo, for writing in to the subreddit r/TalkingReckless. You can write in your thoughts, your takes, and as long as they're not super douchey, we'll probably read them out here on the show. Podcast@talkingreckless.com is an email address you can write those into, or drop them on the subreddit, or join the Discord. Just don't bring any of that. Don't bring any of that anime shit on the Discord. You keep that. You keep that for yourself. podcast, talkingreckless.com. That email address, one more time. That's going to do it here for the show. I'm going to get out of here. Man, solo podcasts really suck. Thank you very much to Brando and Warren for co-hosting while the internet held out. What can I tell you? What do we got coming up? If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider supporting us over on patreon.com/talkingrecklesspodcast. I know times are tough economically for the whole. I know the whole economy for the world is pretty much frozen. So thank you very, very much to everybody who's been able to keep up their Patreon. I really appreciate that, getting us through the tough times. Head on over to talkingreckless.com. You can find the Discord there. You can find all our shit on talkingreckless.com now. All the podcasts, our D&D podcast, Rolling Reckless, which we do every Sunday, including last Sunday. We should have had an episode. We did a honey heist on... I guess it'll be, by the time you hear this, it'll be 2 Rolling Recklesses ago. But go and check out the honey heist that Oliver DM'd. That was super dope. And I thought it went really well. I got to play, which is always super fun. And I think that's all I got to tell you, other than, streaming games almost every day of this lockdown. Keeping the folks company. And the folks are keeping me company, so come on by and hang out on the stream with us someday. You got nothing else going on. Yes, thank you again to Warren, who cannot be here to say thank you back, or you're welcome back, or whatever. Thanks very much to Brando for making the time here on Good Friday in real time. And thank you to you at home for making this, for keeping this little podcast on the air week after week. We'll see you back here next week. It'll be the next edition of the Talking Reckless podcast. We'll see you then. Scene. I could probably play the music, actually, because it's just you and I. Yeah. Everything broke. Well, not everything, but our Xbox Live party broke. I think I'm going to turn the stream off for now. I'm probably going to be back on here in a little bit. I don't know what we're going to play, but I'm going to shut things down, make some lunch type of thing, and we'll probably see y'all in a little bit for some video games of some flavor or another. I don't know what I want to play today. I don't know. I'll think about it, get figured out. I'll have an announcement on the Discord for you. Thanks so much for hanging out. Those who listen live, I hope you enjoyed Talking Reckless 314. Thanks for sticking with us through the technical problems. See you in a little while for some more video games of some kind.
Darkness and silence through the night. What a thrill. I'm searching and I'll melt into you. What a fear in my heart, but you're so supreme. I give my on a tree frog. It's ordeal, the trial to survive. For the day we see new light, I give my life, not for honor, but for you. In my time